Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Tarot. Welcome to my channel. So yesterday I went to another house viewing, and it was rather disappointing because the place was perfect. It was really perfect, and I could really see all of us living there, but there was a small problem, and it was just so close to the highway, not even a block away from the highway. And there was absolutely no sound insulation or soundproofing, which means that we could literally count from the master bedroom. We could literally count the number of cars that were just passing by on the highway, and it was just so anyway. So I was a bit down because it's very difficult. There is a housing crisis, affordability crisis here in Australia at the moment. It's actually not at the moment, it's been going on for at least 15 years because of inflation and stuff like that. And unfortunately that means that moving is not the best experience. I think that no one likes moving, but when you move within Australia, it's actually a very daunting kind of experience because there's people with PTSD, there's people that, for several reasons, there's a lot of animosity around it, and hopefully that will change one day, but without legislations, there's nothing I can do about it. In any case, so to cheer myself up, I actually went for a bit of shopping, tarot shopping, and which I hadn't done in a while because I generally find everything online. But I had heard that one of our chain stores, so it's called Big W, had a few decks on stock, and they were actually cheaper than on Amazon. And I was really keen to check that out because Amazon in Australia is very, very affordable, to the point that it's actually competing with the major bookstore chains and stuff like that, and also the smaller shops. And whenever I can, I actually prefer to buy in a local shop because I think that way, or at least I can fool myself pretending that I'm actually helping the economy just a little bit. So I went shopping, and this is what I found. So we're going to have a look at all of these decks today. It's going to be an actual unboxing in the sense that I have not. So some of these did not come with a factory wrapped, so shrink wrapped. So I imagine they had been opened before. So obviously I kept the receipt, and I will have a look if all of the cards are there. Some others I bought in a different place, and I know for sure that everything is fine about them. This one is still shrink wrapped, so we'll have to open that one out. Let's have a look. So this is the Aleister Crowley Tarot. As you can see, this is an actual price. So at QBD Books, if you live in Australia and you have a branch of QBD Books close to your place, you can go there and you'll find this one heavily discounted. It's only $20 Australian, which is about 13 and a half US dollars, which is an excellent price, for this, because it's a, well, I don't know this publishing house, it's Arcturus. I don't know that, I never heard of that, to be honest. Perhaps they have different licensing in Australia because yeah, I don't recall, but this is a really good price for this deck because whether you like this tarot deck or not, the product value is excellent. It's got a 2-part box, and let's just open this. I think what happens at QBD, they actually open all of the decks because I never actually found a deck that was still shrink wrapped in QBD. But I never had any problems with them either. Like the decks are perfect. There's absolutely no damage, and this is shrink wrap. So they probably just open the boxes. I don't know why they would do that. Probably for quality control, I assume. So very shiny, very, very shiny cover for the guidebook. I'll try not to catch the light. So I was really curious about this deck because it's a, let's say, an artistic alternative to the Thoth, as you can tell already. But what's interesting for me is also what do they talk about in the guidebook, and I'll definitely you know, have a look. This is from, I think it's from last year, yeah, 2023. What I'm interested in is the guidebook, because as you can imagine, I mean, when the Thoth was published the first time, it was decades ago, and as a consequence, things actually changed in the meantime. The system hasn't changed, the way to read these type of cards hasn't changed, but as you can see, there's a few spreads, for example. Then it delves into the major arcana. It's got a couple of pages, at least for the major arcana. It's got a thumbprint of the card, keywords, which is interesting. Then it refers back to the Book of Thoth, refers to this card as the juggler, which is, you know, it's something that obviously is very interesting. And let's see at the minor, if the minor arcana also have, no, okay, the minor arcana do not have a full page each. What happens here is that they go through the core cards, let's say per groups, like that, the 4 queens, the 4 knights, the 4 queens, the 4 princes and princesses, and then the pit cards, of course. So the aces first, the twos, etc. Fair enough. I mean, I wasn't expecting a full page for all of them, because this is not an RWS system. It's a Thoth, obviously. So you can actually read, or you can have a look at the cards per groups like this. As a matter of fact, it's actually recommended in order to learn the system. But let's have a, oh, okay, a blessing. And the index. Further readings, that could be interesting, but I don't see anything new there. Although, okay, so Mark Morgan is the one that gave the foreword, so that could be interesting to see what Mark Morgan says. Foreword. The Aleister Crowley's version of the tarot, here given a makeover by a new artist visionary, could be the most popular and accessible of his many magical offerings. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, what the guidebook talks about when we are looking at the cards. But today, so to me, an unboxing is exactly that. It's an unboxing, in the sense that I don't necessarily need to go looking at the cards. I don't necessarily need to do a deep dive, because it's something that I can do it with time. I don't want to force myself to understand the deck perfectly since day one, and it wouldn't make sense either, because it's not something that you do. So in any case, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Not cutting myself, please. I hate this part. It's also because, as you can notice, this cutter is really rusty. So if I cut myself, it's not just a matter of hurting myself, but it's also a matter of having to take a tetanus shot, because I don't even remember when I took my last tetanus shot. Must have been a while ago, and I think that you need to take one every 5 years or something. Anyway, so let me just zoom in, because we are way too far. Now it's a lot better. So the cardstock, I have to be honest, it feels very, it's very cardboardy, it's very papery. It feels like it doesn't, it still feels like it does have a core inside, but it's not a great cardstock. It doesn't really feel that sturdy. It's fine. Let's have a look at the artwork, and that's the main reason why I bought this deck, because I really wanted to see this new visionary artist interpreting the cards. So I feel like I would definitely do a comparison with the Thoth and this deck side by side, but I cannot, because we are supposed to move. I have started you know, packing up everything, and I really don't have a lot of decks outside of boxes. I am absolutely liking the colors, can I say? Wow. So of course it's it really jumps out of the cards that it's a Thoth deck. The symbology is all there. The vibe, I reckon, all there, especially in this hangman. Oh, this death card. So the death card in the Thoth is one of my favorite cards in the deck. This is not as beautiful as the original one, but it's very, very powerful as well. You know, it's got the same kind of position, the same kind of movement. It feels like it's drawing you in. It's very similar. I don't see that many differences. Well, where there are differences, they are quite, yeah, okay, fair enough. The star. There is a slightly less kind of bluish or greenish tinge. My edition of the Thoth, the original one, is the greenish kind of edition. I reckon that the most recent ones do not have that kind of tint to the cards. I cannot vouch for that, even though I really want to buy one of these days. I'm just going to buy myself one of the tiny sizes, one of mini ones, because it's always interesting. So obviously we have the approach, as we said before, knights, queens, princes, and princesses. Again, it feels like the color palette is a lot more modern. It's not, it's very pleasing to the eye, I must say. And let's have a look at the pips. So, yeah, I mean, the symbols are all there, the dynamics are all there, the vibe is there as well. Let's not forget, my edition, again, it's one of those US Games cardstock that was absolutely battery fantastic to the tactile feel. We don't have that anymore, so I cannot, it would be unfair for me to compare this version to the version that I have. Because that was, I think it was the top of the line, and they never got to produce a deck that beautiful, that, you know, rich ever since, that kind of cardstock ever since. So I shouldn't be comparing this with that, but if I compare with any other deck, more recent deck, it still feels a little bit flimsy because of the it's really paper, perhaps not even laminated. I definitely think it's not laminated, and that's why it gives you that kind of fragility, a sense of fragility that it can be damaged quite easily. Overall, I have to say I actually don't mind it. I think it's a good effort, and I'm quite happy that I only spent, you know, $20 Australian. If anything, because I do have that rather expensive edition of the Thoth, I don't really want to work with that one because I know that now they become very pricey. So what I can do, I can actually, you know, do my Thoth studies with this deck, because I think, you know, even if I ruin it, or if I want to write something on it, or if I want to, I don't know, do whatever I need to do in order to be able to study this, I will not feel bad about doing whatever kind of thing I need to. So this is it's called the Aleister Crowley Tarot. And as I said, it was very, very affordable. So yeah, I actually recommend it for that price. Anything higher than that, I don't think it's worth it, because the cardstock is really not that precious. Let's have a look at the other decks. So the other deck we're looking at is the Astrological Tarot Book and Card deck. It doesn't have the name of the authors here, or here. Let's have a look if it does mention that at the back. No, it doesn't look like it does, which is a bit odd. If I were a creator or even just an illustrator of anything, I would definitely want my name to be on the box. It's the same Taurus, so it's the same publishing company as the Aleister Crowley Tarot. Again, I bought it at QBD, and again, this was on sale. So again, $20 Australian, which is about, I think it's about 13 or 12 and a half USD, depending on the change. So I actually had a look online about this deck because I wasn't sure I wanted it or I even needed it, but because of the low price point, I thought to myself, look, let's just have a look. So it looks like it, I said look 3 times in a row, didn't I? Wow, okay. So let's check out the product value as well. Same kind of booklet, very shiny cover, and it looks like it's got exactly the same number of pages as well. Same kind of lookout or setup inside as well. What is there you go. What is the astrological tarot? Yes, please let me know. Your life, all life on planet Earth, people, animals, and plants depend on the creative force of the sun's light and warmth for survival. Okay, we're on board with that. Astrology was born when ancient humans worshipped the sun for its life-giving properties. With no knowledge of a cosmology, the changing position of the sun, phases of the moon, and color and brightness of the planets and stars were thought to be omens or messages from the gods. Yes, absolutely. People took the changing patterns in the sky to mirror life on Earth. The timing of events such as births, deaths, wars, and good fortune were attributed to what was happening in the skies at the time. Yep, that's true. This celestial search for meaning evolved through many different forms of astrology, all of which reflect the belief that we're all part of one cosmically interconnected reality. The tarot, finally, because I was interested in that, uses many of the concepts that you find in astrology, for example, elements and the personality traits connected to those elements. I get that, but that's very generic. I really want to understand what this specific tarot deck is about. 22 major arcana cards in this deck relate to the 12 sun signs and 10 celestial bodies. There we go. Okay, so we've got 22 major arcanas with 12 signs and 12 celestial bodies. A tradition in the tarot, the major arcana relates to what is called the Fool's Journey. Yeah, we know that. The astrological tarot deck does away with this imagery and also with the numbering of the major arcana so that the journey becomes not linear but more intuitive. Okay. The progression of the heavenly bodies in the cosmos is cyclical. All lessons are patterns to be repeated, within which you gain valuable self-knowledge and wisdom in each cycle. Okay. For example, your first Saturn return happens at roughly around the ages of 27 to 29, when Saturn returns to the position it was in for your birth. How to deal with your first Saturn return will affect how you deal with your second one at around ages 54 to 58. Something to look forward to. Jeez. Your inner life. Okay, the gift of knowing. How to use the cards. That would be interesting because honestly, I had a look for this one online as well and I have no idea on how to use it. But again, I don't have to learn everything today. This is just an unboxing, so we're just taking a look at how the guidebook is, you know, explaining things. There's a few tarot spreads as well. There's more than a few. That's really interesting. I like that. The major arcana, of course. Oh, there you go. So, of course, it starts with Aries. And then it goes on into the 12 signs. I like Aquarius. It's nice. That's my sign. And then it goes into the 10 astrological bodies. So we've got the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars, etc. Venus, Pluto. I like Pluto. I remember when there was this major debate, you know, what is a planet? Years ago. So these are the minor arcana. Very, very pippish. Very pippish. Okay. Oh, okay. But I do like the, these are the cool cards, I imagine. Quite interesting. Very elemental. Rather than astrological. Very, very elemental. Really like the court cards. Let's have a look at the suit of air. So we've got, yeah, that's interesting. Air rising, air day, and air sunset. And water. Okay. And that's it. So let's have a look at the cards again. This came, probably the box was open. They just put a couple of stickers to close it back down again. But this is sealed and that's what counts, obviously. To be honest, for that price, I wouldn't have minded the deck to be open, but I guess, you know, for a bookstore, they have their terms and conditions, and you can actually return. I think you can actually return something if you see that it has been opened. Not that I ever did return anything to a bookstore. I tried once. It was a very difficult thing to do, to the point that I got rather upset. And I'm not going to mention the bookstore, but it's a very big one in Sydney. They have one of the biggest collections of tarot decks I've ever seen in a bookstore. I got a tarot deck that was like this. The box was open. The cards inside were also open. I did not have time to check, obviously, because I didn't want to open the deck back at the bookstore. When I got home, I found the first few cards were actually damaged. But I didn't have time to go back for at least a couple of weeks. So they made a lot of problems with that, and that wasn't a nice experience. And in the end, I actually kept it. It's the Mystic Mondays, if anyone wanted to know. Let me just zoom in. So this is, as we've seen that the major arcana, these are the major arcana. So we've got the astrological signs. I do like this Aquarius card. And we've got the celestial bodies for a total of 22 cards. And then it looks like it's actually starting with the court cards and not with the aces like in the book, but it's absolutely fine because we have seen from the guidebook what they look like. This is all peepish, peepish, peepish. Again, the court cards for the earth. I like the court cards. I don't necessarily mind the fact that these are really lazy peeps. I mean, everything else about this deck is okay. And again, for that product value, you know, for that price, I mean, can't really complain now, can we? By the way, if you hear thundering, there is a storm happening outside, so my cats are actually freaking out this morning. Again, the product quality, let's say the cardstock is exactly the same. So it's the same publisher as the Aleister Crowley Tarot. The cardstock is the same. It's not being laminated. I think that's what gives you this feeling of touching paper, basically, and this feeling of being fragile. I don't know if I'm actually going to use this deck. I got it because I was really curious to see how it reads, which I will definitely try out. Because, you know, you have to give it a chance anyway. But for today, it was just an unboxing. So this is the Astrological Tarot. Well, let's talk about this deck because this is the juicy one out of the haul that I got yesterday. Part of the juicy one, there's at least 3. I was really happy because I've heard from a few of my tarot friends that they found this deck, the Moonology Messages, Oracle Cards, right, by Yasmin Boland. This is the 3rd issue of the Moonology in the Moonology series, let's say, by Yasmin. There's also a couple of really interesting books that go with that. So there's a Moonology book, which feels more like a journaling diary kind of book. There's also a calendar for 2024, like a desk calendar, you know, the ones that you can actually flip and remove the pages day by day. So it feels like there's a lot of, you know, goodies going around these decks. But what really, I was really happy about the fact that I found it for only $22 Australian, which is about $14 US, again at Big W. So the this big chain that is like a Target, you could compare it to a Target in the US. And it's just amazing how many tarot decks and oracle decks they stock lately. And at the beginning, I thought it was just going to be from Rockpool and Blue Angel, because both Rockpool and Blue Angel are Australian publishing companies. So I thought, okay, you know, being in Australia, they probably have some kind of a deal with them and they sell for a cheap price. But this is actually Hay House. So, and it's not the first time that we have a Hay House deck for a cheaper price on on the shelves at Big W rather than on Amazon. And Amazon is, as I said before, by far the cheapest one, the cheapest sourcing of all of the decks in Australia. So I was really stoked to find it finally, because I was very jealous. Everyone else had it. and I had been visiting a couple of branches of Big W nearby home, but I couldn't find it there. And finally, you know, I went far away and I finally did. So this is it. It's now mine. So this deck it looks really amazing. I've seen it in several social media. The box is a bit stuck, but that's okay. So I've seen it around. I'm sure you have as well. There you go. It's a chunky deck, I would say, and to me it looks like it would be a perfect, and I mean perfect, match for the Radiant Wilds Tarot. So that is by Rockbull by Nat Gigsberger. I think I pronounced it correctly. If not, I'm sorry. I don't have the deck. I mean, I do, but it's in the boxes, so I cannot show you how well it pairs up with that. But that's also because in this case, again, it is an unboxing, so I'm just going to show you, you know, the box and the card and the guidebook, and one day, you know, hopefully sooner or later we'll have to move, of course, and at that point I will be able to open up the boxes and see my tarot decks again, my little precious tarot decks. So this is the guidebook. How to use this deck is pretty standard. If you are familiar with the other decks by Yasmin Boland, the other Moonology decks, it looks like the production value is more or less the same. Let's see, for example, we got Blood Moon with Courage. This card brings you courage. You're halfway through your current battle. Yes, I am. And you have more left in reserves than you think. That's what so can I just say, we actually talked about this the other day. I was going through a few books on neuroplastic pain, and that is, I know that everyone thinks that it's just a sentence you tell people to just give them a little bit of courage and make them feel better, but this is actually true on a neurobiological level. The brain is sending symptoms of tiredness or pain or whatever with a much bigger margin than we think we have. So the brain, our brain, is actually very conservative. So it is true that we think we're done, but we actually have a lot left in reserves than what we think. Additional meanings for this card about this symbol. A blood moon happens at the time of a total lunar eclipse. The moon appears to turn deep dark red because she is being lit up by light that's passed through the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, that's interesting. Seek healing, higher power. So it gives you the phases of the moon cycle, let's say, sort of, because healing moon is not necessarily full moon. It is. Follow the moon is not a phase, the falling moon. So it feels like it, as the other decks, it definitely is related to the moon and the moon phases, but in a more oracle kind of fashion than the first two. So this is definitely one of those decks that feels like an oracle. If it feels like an oracle, if it looks like an oracle, it is an oracle. These are the backs, by the way. So it is the typical, make no mistakes, it is the typical Hay House cardstock, which is papery, but, you know, not, it's very thick. It's got a good bounce to it, but in any case, it's, I don't know, it's not my favorite. But then again, you know, if you're used to it, it's fine. It's a workable deck, and that's what it needs to be, right? So, okay, see what I mean? This is the Radiant Wilds. I swear it looks like it's been done by the same creator or illustrator, at least. It's a really beautiful, so I've seen plenty of walkthroughs of these, and I'm sure you've seen plenty as well. So this one, let me tell you, this one will pair up with the Radiant Wilds Tarot, with the Serpent Fire Tarot, with the She-Wolf Tarot. I'm thinking also with possibly the Moon Child, the shadow version of the Moon Child, possibly not necessarily with the Star Child, because I think that the tints are rather different. Some of these cards give me the idea that it could pair up well with the Solara Occulto as well, somehow. Also with the Muse Tarot, it does definitely have that kind of feel to it. But the Radiant Wilds, it's almost as if it's been done to match that up. I kid you not. And I'm so sorry that I don't have it, because otherwise I would show you for sure, but we may have to wait, I don't know how long, to see all of my decks again. So very, very happy that I found this deck. Very happy that I will be able one day to match it up with the tarot. It's very beautiful. The images are absolutely beautiful. It's a very beautiful collage kind of deck, and you can actually see the evolution from, if you followed through, if you have the older versions of the Moonology. The first one was very simple, very basic, with no characters on the cards, you know, barely any color, in the sense that you just had the phases of the moon, which is absolutely fine because that's what that deck was about. And then we went to the second edition, which had a little bit more interaction with the oracle properties of the deck, not just as a moon phase deck. It started introducing a couple of characters, and it had a really nice color palette as well. And this is the third edition, and the evolution is clear. It's going towards a very much an oracle type of deck. Not the third edition, sorry, it's not the third edition of the same deck. It's just the third deck that has been named, let's say, Moonology. So this is the Moonology Messages Oracle. The next deck I'm going to show you is the reason why I even went to BW. I was waiting for this Oracle deck ever since, I think, March this year, in which I heard that it was going to be published. There was no timeline of when we would have seen it, but it is a Blue Angel publication. So I'm so sorry, but I just, when I got it, I had to, you know, go through it. And so it is open, although I did not have time to look at all of the cards, so we're just going to do that now. I did, however, notice one thing, that so the book sits on top of the deck, and as you can, I don't know if you can tell, but it really goes inside. It almost as if it fell inside the box, and it does have a bit of a warp because of that, and that depends on the fact. So the deck came literally like this, with the belly band on, of course, but it came literally like this. There's no foam, no cardboard around it to stop the deck from moving, and this one was on top. So what happens is that, you know, this one eventually takes a little bit of a bend towards the inside, because there's nothing to stop it. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying things as they are. I really could not care less, because this deck is so beautiful that honestly I could, you know, I really don't mind. So let's have a look at the guidebook first. It's a really beautiful guidebook with some gold stamping on the front page. I don't know if you can see. So it's all around the main image, and also on the letters here. It's by Sunshine Connolly. The artwork is by Anna Noves. I hope that's pronounced correctly. Blue Angel, as I said. What's it saying here? Are you ready to remember who you are? Who we are? Our world is our soul mirror. So that's the name of the deck, the Soul Mirror. I am so stoked. So the copyright is 2024. Okay, do they know it's still in 2023? As a matter of fact, I think that Blue Angel is releasing it in the US next year. So if you want this deck, you probably have to either buy through Amazon Australia if they deliver to the US, or maybe find it. Someone may be buying it here in Australia and then resell it in a group. Just for you to know, this one, when you buy it on Amazon, is rather expensive. But I got it from BW. It was $24 actually, this one. So the Moonology Messages was $22 Australian, which is about 14 US. This one was 24 Australian dollars, which is about 15, let's say, US dollars, which is an excellent price. Really, really excellent price, because you don't find it for this price. I like the guidebook. It's beautiful. It's got 2 full pages. you know, per card, and you got a rather large thumbprint of the card itself. It is a deck that has a very muted color palette. So obviously you can see that reflected in the images on the guidebook as well. And you know, it's addressing the reader. So you have come to Earth in this lifetime to learn through a dense 3D reality to accelerate particular soul lessons through the physical form. That's a bit convoluted, which is constantly reflected to you. I did not really understand that. When you fully embrace these lessons, you accept and appreciate the learning and the miraculous life that suspends you within this realm of growth and soul evolution. Okay. Rejected lessons and missed opportunities for inner healing and self-development. Absolutely. So it's got a bit of a description. It's got a bit of a reflection. What lessons am I currently facing in my life? How can I embrace these lessons and see them as opportunities for growth and self-development? What can I do to channel the free-flowing energy of my lessons into the world and support others in their own journeys of growth and evolution? Okay, it feels like the guidebook is a very journaling, prompting kind of guidebook, one of those that really wants you to meditate, to, you know, do a little... at the end, there's also, that's the first time that I see that, but at the end, they actually show you which other decks they've published. By the way, all of these ones are available at Big W, or at least for what I could see. Not the Sacred Horse, I haven't seen that one, but definitely the Oracle of Delphi. That's it. So let's have a look at the deck, because this is absolutely gorgeous, and I need to definitely zoom in. This is really beautiful. By the way, it comes with this really beautiful matte gold gilding. I have to say though that I don't know whether it's only my copy, but the cards were glued together when I opened the deck. It did not, when I detached them, I did not damage them, so there is absolutely no damage done to the cards, so I really don't care, but just for you to know. And it's the beautiful Blue Angel cardstock that they are producing lately. I just really adore this cardstock. So as you can see, it's very, very powerful, very intense. Oh my God, the choices of, you know, the characters and the representation on the cards related to the keywords, it's just really powerful. So we've got this, it says transformation repressed or activated, and then here it says find your wings. So beautiful, my goodness. Teaching, withheld or giving. Support, discouraged or encouraged. So it looks as if there were a bit of a, you know, light and shadow meaning. Wow, shadow work, negligent or loving. Look at this image, basically. She's looking at the mirror, but obviously it's not the same figure looking back. So perhaps she's looking to the mirror of her soul. And that's the theme of the deck. It's called Soul Mirror, obviously. And the kitty cat. So as I said before, the artwork and the color palette is rather muted, but that doesn't take anything away from the beauty of the deck. This card is absolutely gorgeous. So beautiful. Distant or connected. So beautiful. Reflection. Receptivity. So I'm thinking this one will be a bit of a challenge to pair up. Look at this card, how beautiful this is. And I take back what I said about the muted color palette, because look at the blues and the purples and the pink. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this is called Portal, open or closed. Perceptive. It's going to be not easy to pair up with the tarot deck because of the colors, but I'm thinking Solar Occulto would definitely be a deck that I think pairs up well. Perhaps again the Radiant Wilds Tarot. I'm thinking I could definitely do a pairing with this Oracle and the Moonology Messages Oracle card for the Radiant Wilds. I love this card. It's called Curiosity. with a kitten with the the lunar phases on its head. So beautiful. It's very well thought as well, because it's not just the images that are very powerful, very strong and intense, but it's also the relationship with the keywords. And the fact that you have a little bit of, so these two words at the bottom really refer to the shadow meaning and the light meaning, or rather the light and the shadow meaning. And I really think that it works, because confusion, when, you know, it could be fearful, but it could also be serene. So when you're serene, that it's not confusion anymore. Comfort, did you lose it or have you found it? It's almost as if it were asking you to meditate on that keyword and return back to the feeling of, you know, is the awareness foolish or is it a conscious awareness? By the way, I don't know if you can see that. There's this figure on the background that looks a bit creepy to me, but okay. It's got rabbit ears as well. It's a bit odd. It reminds me of Donnie Darko. I don't know why. Oh, this is so beautiful. Attention, resistant or surrendered. The fish coming out of the heart and going back in circle. That's so beautiful. Alignment. So this deck, it's not a huge deck. It looks bigger than what it is because the cardstock is rather thick. But let's see if I can find how many cards there are. So it's probably going to be here. 42 cards. Okay, well, my minimum, generally speaking, is 44. I get upset when it's 24 or 33 in some Los Scarabeo decks. But 42 rather than 44, I can live with that. It's not a big deal, especially because it is truly so unbelievably beautiful. It's just fantastic. So this is the Soul Mirror Oracle. And last but not least, we've got the Reflection Mindful Ritual cards, a collection of simple reminders and gentle disruptors. Okay, so I bought this one in a shop, in a mall, not in a big W. It was a private, let's say, private shop. It's called Karma, isn't it? I thought it said something here. I think it's called Karma. So this deck is very unique. I have seen it a couple of times before. I don't remember where, and I'll try and make sure that if I see it, you know, for sale in a website, I'll link it in the description box below. It's also gilded. It's a matte gilding, very beautiful. In this case, there is no guidebook, but there is this. So this is a like a kind of a couple of pages that open up like that, and then you turn it the other way and they open up like that, like a concertina kind of thing. So this is definitely for reflection, for you know, meditation. However, I really do enjoy it. I had a look at it. The owner of the shop was so nice to me, because she saw that I was really interested, and I told her I have a YouTube channel. So she was like, okay, well, look, if you don't know this deck, you can actually open it, and even if you don't buy it. So I actually opened a couple of decks, and I bought only this one. It was very nice of her to let me do that. So it looks like, you know, there's a sentence, there's a message, like an affirmation almost kind of message in each and every card, but the art style is very beautiful. It's very soothing. So every day, do your best to be the reason that someone believes in the goodness of humanity. I haven't read all of the cards, all of the messages, because, well, there's a few. But I like the fact that it's so soothing. Everything, it combines, you know, the font that has been chosen, the colors, the texture of the card. It's a very luxurious kind of cardstock. Also a bit papery. All of the decks today were a bit papery and matte. I think that we're going in the right direction, but the best one is always Blue Angel. The latest Blue Angels are just absolutely fantastic. You will never regret self-respect. So, as I said, I haven't read all of the messages yesterday when I had a look at it, but just a few messages were enough to convince me. And it's also because I think it could pair really well with the Modern Seer Tarot. And generally speaking, all of these decks have this kind of bohemian feel to it, don't they? So it might pair up well with the other decks we mentioned before. So perhaps the what I was talking about, the Radiant Wilds tarot, but also the all of the Bunny Wolves decks. So the Serpent Fire or the She-Wolf tarot. It will pair up with nicely with the Muse tarot as well. And I keep on thinking, I keep on going back to the Solar Occulto, because somehow I really believe that these decks could go really well together. So this looks to me like it's one of those decks that you shuffle, you know, in the morning perhaps. If you do meditation in the morning, but also if you don't do meditation, it doesn't necessarily have to be only in that space. Why is there a card like this here? Oh, it's actually turned like that. You can just pick a card and think about it during the day. You don't necessarily have to sit down and meditate. It could be some kind of a mantra, or, you know, your reflection or your message for the day, and just believing that it has come to you for a reason. So, for example, today, what do I need to focus on? Let's see. Oh, it's a big one. Okay, there is a choice in every moment. Yes, we can be invited by external forces to become disrupted internally. Ultimately, we choose to accept or decline. Okay, I did not expect something too, you know, so deep. And now I'll definitely have to think about this. There is a choice in every moment. That is definitely the message that I will take with me. Absolutely. There is a choice. Even though, as I was talking about the other day, I am all for informed determinism. You need to understand what the choices entail. So when there is an informed choice, it's the only choice you can take. But this is, you know, it's this. I don't think this deck is meant to be giving you an indication of a path, but simply just shining a light on all of the paths that you have in front of you. So this is the Mindful Ritual cards, and it was about, I think it was about 50 Australian, yeah. So probably about 32, I reckon, 31, 32 US dollars. It's a very beautiful deck. I really, really enjoyed it. And that was it for today. So that was my unboxing after a very disappointing house viewing. So, you know, just send me some good vibes, because I really need to find a place to live, because otherwise I don't know where we're gonna go. Anyway, thank you so much for staying with me till the end of this video. More to come. Have a great day.